Hello boys and girls, and welcome to your English PowerPoints for week 6. So this is the final week of our writing for this term and also the last week of our writing journey, all about IELTS and the fact files that we're going to be writing today and finishing this week. So I'm going to take you through each of the days and what activities I would like you to do on each day, and I've got some examples as well to help me better explain to you. Okay, so for Sunday's lesson, your learning target is to be able to write a fact file, and that is going to be the learning target for the majority of the lessons this week because you're on that green writing section of our journey. So today we're going to be continuing with writing for each of our sections. So remember we've got those 4 subtitles. So last week, last Wednesday, if you can think back, you wrote about the IELTS body parts. So today we're going to move on to our next subtitle, which is diet. And a diet is just the kind of foods that a person or an animal eats. So you did all of your research last week and you've kind of done the hard work. So now you need to use that research and use the kind of bullet points that you have come up with and develop them into full sentences. Because when you write your fact file, you can't really use bullet points. I want you to use full sentences. So I have done a little bit of research myself, and I'm going to show you how I use my bullet points to write full sentences. So if you can think back to our planning lessons, I sent out a few questions to help you guys whenever you're doing your research. And this yellow little box here is just the information that I came up with whenever I did my own research about IELTS. So as you can see, it's bullet points. They're not full sentences, they're just short, snappy bits of information. I'll read them for you and then I'll show you how I put it into full sentences. So underneath diet, I've written bird of prey, main food varies with the species, fish, mammals, insects, can't chew, so swallow whole, hooked beak and sharp talons help. So actually, if you guys were to read that, you mightn't be able to make sense of what I mean. And that's okay because the bullet points are for you. Your plan is only for you. So underneath here, I have done some writing and I'm going to take my the video camera away so that I can read what is underneath it. Let me see. So IELTS are birds of prey, which means they hunt for their food. The type of food varies for each species of oil. Some IELTS eat fish, small mammals and even insects. IELTS cannot chew their food, so they have to eat their food whole. They have sharp talons and a hooked beak which helps them when they are hunting. So you can see the bullet points that I have used. For example, my first sentence, I said IELTS are birds of prey, which means they hunt for their food. The bullet point that I have used to help me with this sentence was my first bullet point up at the top that just says birds of prey. So what I would like you guys to do for today's lesson is use your plan from last week. Use the bullet points and I want you to develop those bullet points into full sentences and write your section on an IELTS diet. That's your task for today. Okay, I'm back. I'll move my video again if I'm on top of the information that you guys need, but I think I'm okay for this slide. So Monday, the learning target is the same. It is to be able to write a fact file. So today we're just going to be continuing with writing for each section of our fact file. Yesterday, our subtitle was an IELTS diet. That's what they eat. Today, we are going to look at habitat. That's our subtitle for today. And a habitat is the home or an environment of where a person or animal lives. So for example, a fish's habitat is the water, the ocean. A polar bear's habitat is in the snow. A worm's habitat is in the mud, under the ground, okay? So today we are going to be looking at the habitat, so the environment in which an oil lives. So you did your research last week, like I've said, that's the hard part, and you now need to use those bullet points that you created to help you write full sentences. And just like yesterday's lesson, I'm going to show you how I use my bullet points to help me write full sentences. So the bullet points that I made doing my research were kind of an answer to the questions that I sent out last week. So have a look at the next slide and I'm going to explain the questions that I answered. the bullet points that I made, and then the sentences that I've written. So if you have a look up at the top in the yellow box, it says questions. The questions that I wrote as prompts for you guys were: what countries do owls live in? What kind of weather do they like? What other birds, like other birds, they live in a nest, but how do they make this nest? And do they live on their own? So I sent you guys those questions, and they were just to really get you thinking and just to put you on the right lines on your research, because I know there's so much information out there. So they were just to give you some ideas. So for my bullet points, my plan, I've simply answered those questions, okay? Number 1, what countries do owls live in? And they live in all countries, on all continents, except Antarctica. They live in the desert, forests, prairies, and even the Arctic tundra, which is a really cold place, but it's not in the Antarctic. And something I found out, which I didn't know, was many owls use other birds' nests. They use sticks and feathers to make these nests are made from sticks and feathers, and they often live alone, but they do look after their young. Just like in the story that we listened to of owl babies, we know that they look after their young. So I've used these bullet points, that's my research, and instead of using just bullet points in my fact file, I'm going to develop them into full sentences. So just like this. The first bullet point, all continents except Antarctica, and this is how I'm writing it in a full sentence. Owls live all over the world in every continent except Antarctica. And then I'm going to move on down through my bullet points and explain to you my full sentences. They live in forests, prairies, and even the Arctic tundra. This just shows you how diverse the different species are. That means how different. Owls live in nests, and sometimes they use old nests that have been made by another bird and are now empty. The nests are made from lots of little sticks and feathers. Owls often live on their own, but they look after their young until they can look after themselves. So there we go. I've used my bullet points to make my full sentences, and that is my section on habitat complete. So I want you guys to use your plan, your bullet points, and write the full sentences for me underneath the subtitle Habitat. Hello boys and girls, welcome to Tuesday's lesson. The same learning target because we're still continuing with that writing. So it is to be able to write a fact file. So today we're going to be continuing with the writing, and yesterday we wrote about the habitat. Today we're moving on to our final subtitle, which is fun facts. And this can be anything. This can be any cool fact that you find out about an owl that you want to put in your fact file. It doesn't really have to be specifically about where they live, what they eat, what they look like. It can be really anything that you find interesting that you want to put in your fact file. This is the section for you to do that. So I'm going to show you my research and how I've used the questions to help me with my bullet points, and how I've used the bullet points to help me with my sentences. So I'm going to take the video away so you guys can read it properly. Bye. Okay, so my questions were: when do owls sleep? Do they have teeth? How do they see all around them? Do they make noise when they fly? Are there any famous owls? Maybe in a movie. So the questions were a bit odd, a bit strange, but I didn't want to give too much away. But here are the bullet points and the information that I found out when I did my research. So I've written nocturnal, no teeth, can't chew, eyes don't move, so they move their head, silent flyers, Harry Potter. And you're probably thinking, that doesn't really make sense, and that's okay because it's my plan. So your plan mightn't make sense to anyone else, but this is why it's so important for you guys to really start to write your full sentences and explain what you mean and what kind of things you find out in your research. So I'll read my final section here of my fact file. Owls are nocturnal birds, which means that they are active at night time. They don't have any teeth, which means they can't chew their food, so they swallow it whole. Owls' eyes cannot move, so they need to move their heads to see around them. They are super soft feathers, which makes them silent flyers. This helps when they are hunting their prey. There is a famous owl in Harry Potter called Hedwig. She is a lovely white snowy owl and she belongs to Harry. She is used for oil post and she carries letters in her beak. So there you go. That's what I mean by my bullet points, and I've explained them further whenever I'm writing my full sentences. So your final section of your fact file might look completely different to mine. You might find it really interesting about the different species, and you might want to explain that a bit further. You might be really interested in the bird in Harry Potter, and you might just want to write fun facts all about Hedwig, the owl in Harry Potter. You might think it's so interesting that they're silent flyers, and you might choose to do a whole section just fun facts all about their feathers and how they manage to fly silently. It is completely up to you. This is for you. This is kind of your chance to get creative with your fact file. Any interesting facts that you find interesting, this is the section that you put them in. Okay, and today's lesson, Wednesday, this is our final writing lesson of this term, of this week, of this topic. So the learning target for today is still to be able to write a fact file. So it's your final lesson, and you're going to be adding some finishing touches. So you have written underneath the 4 subtitles. We had body parts, diet, habitat, and fun facts. You've done all your writing, and today I'm just going to have you guys looking at our checklist that we wrote in one of the planning lessons. So I'm going to take my video away for a second. Our checklist said you need to include capital letters, finger spaces, full stops, title, subtitle, factual language, and picture. So everyone has chosen a title. Most people just said oils or all about oils. Everyone has chosen the subtitles because we did that together. Factual language, you know what that means. It just means that things are facts that you have found out. It's not, you wouldn't say owls are my favorite animal because it's a fact file, so it needs to have only factual language. And the last thing that we said we would include is pictures. So this is whenever I want you guys to get a little bit creative. This part is completely up to you. You can draw a picture, you can get a picture from the internet, you can get a diagram from the internet, you can get a drawing. It's completely up to you. You can use whatever picture you like. So you might want to use a picture to show the owl's diet. You might want to show the owl's habitat or the different body parts. I know some children in my class have chosen to label a picture of an owl to help explain the different body parts. It's completely up to you. I just would like you to include 1 or 2 pictures in your fact file because that was on our checklist. So here are some examples of what I found when I was doing my own research. Here we go. We've got 2 pictures of birds. The one on the left is an owl silently flying. And it is hard to believe that the owl with such big wingspan is quiet when they fly, but it's because of their feathers being so soft. And then over here, underneath my video, this is as you know, an owl is a bird of prey. And this picture here, if you look closely, you can see its sharp talons, and that's going to help it whenever it's catching its prey. So you can choose the pictures you like, and then you can just do a little sentence explaining what is in the picture. So here are some other pictures. I found a picture of the bird called Hedwig in Harry Potter. She is a snowy owl and she's white. And I don't know if you guys have seen Harry Potter, but she carries post in her beak. That's what she does. So there's a picture of the actor who plays Harry Potter and then the bird there as well. So you might want to include that. And then the last picture I've got here is an owl camouflaged in a nest. So if you look really closely, you can see the ears spiking up. But if you were to just glance at the picture, you might not know that there's an owl there, and that's good because it's camouflaged from other predators. So that's another example of what you might include in your picture. And the last section here is just a picture of an owl, and it's labelled. So you might want to use a picture and label it to help explain body parts. It's completely up to you. I want you guys to really be creative with how you design your fact file, how you lay it out, and what pictures you put in. So that is your final lesson of this week, of this term, and to do with the fact file. So really well done, boys and girls, because I know this isn't something that we have done in school, but it's so important that we keep teaching you these new things so that you're ready to move up to year 2 in the next academic year. So whenever you guys have finished the pictures, that's your fact file completed. You can read over it, and I know we haven't had time for editing and improving, but because we wrote so slowly this topic, I think you guys should be okay. Have a quick glance over your work, make sure that you have used capital letters, finger spaces, full stops, and everything else we have ticked off from our checklist. So once you've finished, once you're happy with it, upload it onto your portfolio, and we look forward to seeing what you guys have been doing. Well done.